Revolutionary greetings, comrades. The African National Congress is today expected to conclude its 55th National Elective Conference in Nazareth, Johannesburg. Comrades are asking us on what does it mean following the election of the top seven. Firstly, we congratulate the leadership collective that was elected by the ANC branches, President Ramaphosa and the rest of the leadership. We congratulate them for their 5-year term in office. So the questions that have been asked by comrades are, what does this mean? Well, firstly, in our own understanding, I think we all agree that it's democracy at play because branches or members of the ANC through their branches were able to nominate their preferred candidates. Because in an election, in a movement that is democratic, comrades will have different preferences when it comes to the question of leadership, as we saw in this national conference. As we're recording this video, they are electing members of the National Executive Committee. So we saw democracy at play, that is through the nomination of comrades that they wanted to lead them. We also saw the plenary, which was open to the public, where all of us, part of us were not at the conference, were glued on our TV screens and other gadgets because of load shedding. We saw how some were nominated from the floor, other comrades declining nominations. That is democracy at its best. But of course, I know that comrades will then ask, is this workers' democracy? The ANC is not a workers' movement. We need to clarify that. So that comrades don't begin to attack me. It is not a workers' movement. It is a broad movement. They define it as a broad church. So the membership of the ANC, through their delegates, were able to elect those that they thought they are better placed to lead the ANC for the next 5 years. Those who lost in the election or were not elected to be part of the top seven have since accepted the outcome. We have not received any reports of anyone going to court. And in our understanding, contestation for position does not mean enmity. So these are preferences. People have different preferences to say, we think this comrade can do better as Secretary General or as President or whatever position, as the elections in the 55th National Conference demonstrated. So there's nothing beyond that in our view. I've been, of course, reading comments on social media, particularly from my comrades from Zimbabwe, and I was saying to one of the leaders who leads Twaga's political formation, saying ANC is like ZANU-PF now. Far is far from the truth. That is not correct. And I ended up responding to the comrade to say, focus on Twaga's. Because it is wrong. Because democracy means comrades should be free to nominate, to cast their votes, have their representatives as observers to ensure that the votes are counted accurately and that the outcome reflects what is happening at conference. So because the comrade wanted a certain individual or a certain slate to win, because it lost, then says, no, ANC is like ZANU-PF. No, that's not correct. Every person that participated, those that lost, have accepted the results of the national conference. And of course, those that won are celebrating that they won. It is normal. But the other point that we want to raise, comrades are then linking this to the Zimbabwe exemption permits to say, we are receiving many questions to say, now that President Ramaphosa has been elected for a second term, any prospect for our ZEP And I also saw on social media others writing, Comrade Mandla Masu asked me to say, Comrade Mabena, he said, don't you think that if Comrade Zweli Mkhize gets elected as a president of the ANC, ZEP are going to be renewed? And the response is this. The ANC is guided by its policies. Yes, the implementation of policies differ from one leader to the other, but it is guided by policies. And we are waiting for the pronouncement of those policies, particularly we are looking at the question of migration. I was reading an article where the NEC member, Comrade Mtswaledi, who also doubles as Minister of Home Affairs, is saying that they are calling for an overhaul of the immigration and citizenship laws. So we are waiting for the pronouncements on the policies, on what the National Conference is going to adopt. In the previous video, we discussed about the policy conference and the proposals that were made, which are now before the National Conference to make a decision on that. So we wait for the outcome. But it's also important to say that there's always been confusion around the ZEP holders. These are people that are documented and the undocumented. And this is the point that we are raising and making clarity to that. And we'll continue to engage the leadership of the ANC on this question. The last point that we want to raise is the video clip that is circulating by the new Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, a comrade that I have known for years. Comrade Fikile Mbalula says sanctions in Zimbabwe must go. The ANC cannot be part of a regime change in Zimbabwe. He says Britain and her friends must come to the party. He speaks of about 40 billion pounds that was promised to the Zimbabwean government, which was part of the land reform program. We will engage the ANC, but through the office of the Secretary General on these matters, because firstly, we want to underline that we are on record calling for the removal of sanctions, not only in Zimbabwe, in Venezuela, the economic embargo in Cuba. We are opposed to sanctions. We are on record saying this, and we continue calling for the lifting of the sanctions. But we are also mindful of the fact that sanctions are not the only problem that has caused the collapse of our economy. We have discussed the Economic Structural Adjustment Program as adopted in 1991, the Economic Policy Program pursued by the Zimbabwean government currently. We will discuss with the ANC the issue which we have recorded in this video, the compensation of white commercial farmers, 3.5 million US dollars. We think this money should be put to other projects as opposed to compensation. But we will engage because we think it is important that we engage with the ANC, because indeed the collapse of the economy has a huge impact on South Africa. As the Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Mbalula, was saying, that people then cross to South Africa, they cross through Limpopo, which is a crocodile infested. So it's an issue that must be dealt with. So in our engagement with the ANC on this question, as we are building up to the 2023 elections, is the role that we think the ANC and the rest of the liberation movement, including SADC, should play in helping Zimbabwe. We do have our proposals as adopted in the first Congress of the Zimbabwe Communist Party in 2019, in our political program, Completing the Liberation of Zimbabwe. So we will have these engagements. We don't think it is going to be okay for us to start by attacking Comrade Fikile Mbalula based on what he said. I've already seen comments that some saying he's a ZANU-PF apologist. We don't hold that view. At this stage, we don't hold that view. Ours is to engage the ANC in trying to find solutions to the problems, economic and political crisis in Zimbabwe, because we must first and foremost accept that we have a crisis, an economic and a political crisis that we must resolve. As I'm saying, we put forward what we think should be the role of the ANC in contributing to the resolution of the economic and the political crisis, so that we reduce the number of young people that are crossing Limpopo to South Africa, which of course we know what it has done, because once you have thousands of Zimbabweans coming to South Africa, people of low skin, they compete in poor communities with the South Africans, and the result is what we have seen in the attacks directed at migrants. So these are the issues that we are going to be engaging on. But we thought it's important that we then record this video to answer a few questions. But in detail, we are going to look into the immigration policy that this conference is going to adopt. So we'll wait for that document so that we are able to critique the document. It will then be clearer on what the ANC said, and also it will assist us to establish areas of engagement with the ANC and the South African government. But otherwise, please share your views on your own experiences or what you see happening at the ANC conference. I was saying to comrades, for instance, comrades from Zimbabwe, to say it is only Professor Arthur Mtambara in Zimbabwe, leader of a political party, who was contested as president in 2011 and accepted the outcome when Professor Washington Ncube took over from him. He accepted the outcome, though of course then there were problems when he did not want to step down as deputy prime minister, paving way for Professor Washington Ncube. But the fact that he accepted the outcome to be contested and accepted that in the delegates of the MDC had decided that Professor Ncube should be president. But in many of the political parties that we have, it's unheard of that you will stand up and contest the president of a party. Of course, in the Zimbabwe Communist Party, we always elect our leadership through consensus. We have these discussions on to say who do we think should be general secretary of the party. First, we define what is the role of